Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Connect Africa. Good morning and good afternoon, depending where you are. We are here for our bi-weekly session for every Tuesday and every Thursday with Kwame Gonza to analyze what's happening in the continent and globally that impacts Africa. So for today, the topic that we picked for you is Ethiopian Airlines owning 49% of Nigerian Air. And the controversies around it. So we are here to spill the tea, everything, and why we say this is a Pan-African move. What kind of lesson Africa can learn from this? So as usual, our brother Kwame Gonza is here with all the research and the information that he has. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you very much, Mahlet. Can you hear me?
I hear you a bit delayed, but yeah, I think we managed. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here today. I hope my network will behave today. And I want to welcome all the people who are watching us. As Mahlet has rightly mentioned, we are here to analyze issues that are happening, across the global stage and also on the African continent, and how they affect us as African people. Because, like we said, we have to be very concerned about anything that is happening on our continent. And when you look at the issue that is coming up of the Nigerian Air, which has, been launched recently, but was proposed around 2018, it is a very important issue because now this becomes an issue that has the Ethiopian Airlines in, and then you have Nigeria. So this is very good for Pan-Africanism, and we are here for Pan-Africanism. So this is what we are going to look at today. But don't forget to support the channel. Don't forget to share the channel. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to invite others onto the channel, because that is the only way you can support us. Even if you don't want to support us, you have to support us. Try and support us, because we are pushing Pan-Africanism forward. And we are not only presenting here on the channel or on your TV and whatever, but we are also on the front line trying to push the struggle in reality by working with other Pan-African organizations. So come out there and support us. The topic today is the Nigeria Air, which has been, launched. And so if you are in Nigeria, you would want to pay very close attention to what we are going to talk about. And also Ethiopia, if you're talking about Ethiopian Airlines, and across the whole African continent. And if you are for Pan-Africanism and for the African people, you are for Africa, then you are going to have to pay close attention to what we are going to discuss today. So thank you very much, Mahlet.
Thank you very much, Kwame. Yes, so we're very excited. So all Ethiopians, Nigerians, and all Africans, this is a topic that concerns us really, that touches every one of us. I'm an Ethiopian, Kwame is from Ghana, but at large, we are African, Pan-African. So that's all it matters. So I really am so excited for tonight's topic. As I have a lot to say, that's my opinion, but of course it's you who is going to be analyze it. I will share mine if there's anything that I need to reflect. Before we go to all that controversies that's surrounding, this Ethiopian Airlines having a stake, 49% of Nigerian Air, we have seen a lot of deterrent from the authorities themselves being expressed and, attacking each other, why this is happening, as if they were not part of the process or anything. Before we go to all that, let's get a history, or kind of give us the information what has been like, the industry, the aviation industry of the Nigerian Air, whatever it was called before the launch of this one. You're muted, Kwame.
Yeah, before I go to answer your question, I think let me first show a short video of the launch, which happened a few days ago, about 10 days ago in Nigeria, of the Nigeria Air, which happened at the airport.
Coming 8 years after it was first embarked upon in 2015 by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, Nigeria Air is formally being launched.
This is one infrastructure that has been missing in the general aviation dynamics of the country. The airline that is equal to the size of the market, to the dynamics of the market of Nigeria, for its geography and the fortunes of the country. Indeed, we do need the kind of infrastructure that we're having today in the name of Nigeria Air Limited.
It's a public-private partnership which sees Africa's giant airline brand, Ethiopian Airlines, bringing its 77 years of experience in the aviation industry into this partnership with Nigeria Air.
As far as airline operations are concerned, in the entire world, the partner to Nigeria Air Limited, which is the Ethiopian Airline Consortium, has the capacity demonstrated, the ability demonstrated, the wherewithal demonstrated, and the heart to remain in this very challenging industry to continue to do business.
Very important, and the Ethiopian Airlines is here as part of the consortium to work on the development of Nigerian airlines, and we will for sure play a significant role in sharing our experience in the field of aviation.
Though domestic operators under the aegis of the Airline Operators of Nigeria have faulted the outgoing minister's decision to launch the operations of Nigeria Air today, despite a restraining court order barring the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Nuhu Musa, from issuing an air operator's certificate to the national carrier. The minister, who seems clearly unperturbed, says Nigeria Air, which moved from the moribund Nigeria Airways, will only begin operations locally after being certified by the NCAA.
They went to court to challenge, in my opinion, that they said in court that they do allow Nigeria, they do understand that Nigeria Air Limited is a company not to law, and they're allowed to do their businesses just like them. But their concern is they don't want them to partner with Ethiopian Airlines because Ethiopian Airlines will take their business. Meanwhile, there's nobody has gone to court to say that if an Air Peace or a Maxia want to partner with Lufthansa or want to partner with Singaporean, somebody will stop them.
From one national aircraft, the government says its 5-year projection is to have at least 35 aircrafts in operation. Starting with $250 million, according to the Nigerian government, the Nigeria Air is projected to hit $5 billion in the next 5 years. From the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport here in Abuja, Mary Chinda reporting for Rise News.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mahlet. Briefly, so that is what is coming from Nigeria itself, as we have seen from one of the TV stations, one of the famous TV stations, which is Arise News, Arise TV and News. So the Nigerian aviation industry actually officially started way back as on the Nigeria aviation. What we call the history, what we would call the history of the Nigerian aviation industry. It started way back in 1946, actually, even when the planes had just been, almost invented. It started under the West African Airways Corporation. It was called the West Africa Airways Corporation, which was an amalgamation of four countries, the Gold Coast during that period, Gambia, and Sierra Leone. So itself Nigeria, Gambia, Gold Coast, which is currently Ghana, and then the Gambia. So it was a consortium almost a consortium, but it was a group of countries. And this airlines, which was called the West African Airways Corporation, was operated by Britain, which was, of course, we can say under colonialism. And it was launched in October 1946. And it operated until 1958, September. If you remember 1958, these are the periods when people were agitating for independence because, for example, in Ghana, Gold Coast, Ghana had just gotten independence. 1957. So it would not continue, Ghana would not continue to stay in the colonial structure, because this was a colonial enterprise. When you are talking about West African Airways Corporation, this was a colonial enterprise. So Ghana, after getting independence in 1957, it would not stay in this, enterprise. So immediately when the airlines closed out in 1958, September, when it was closed out after colonialism and after Nigeria getting independence, the Nigeria Airways was launched in the same year in October. The difference is it was just 1 month. Within the next month, Nigerian Airways came into being in 1958 after Nigeria getting its independence. Now, going forward, Nigeria Airways operated at first with a 51% share in the airways. As you remember, during that time, the governments were very nationalistic, which came out of colonialism, that they saw it important, our forefathers saw it important that Africa should own in majority of the major industries like airlines, mining. Africa should own like 51%. It should not own less than 51%, because we are the owners of the resources. We are the owners of these enterprises, and they are on our land. They are operating in our names. Like, for example, if you say Nigeria Airways, so the rest of the majority stake was operated or was owned by the by KLM, of France. It was the one who was operating and owning that. So this arrangement went on with Nigeria owning around 51% until 1961. Until 1961, when KLM divested from the venture, and all the 100% went to the Nigerian, went to the Nigerian Airlines, and the Nigerian government now started owning all of the airlines, which was Nigeria Airways that time. Now, the Nigerian Airways operated, the government operated that airlines until 2003. And if you remember, between that period of 1961 and up to 1961, between that period and 2000s, even up to now where we are, you remember that in the 70s, the 60s, the structural adjustments were unleashed on us, on the African continent and the global south, of course, by the IMF and the World Bank. And the purpose was, of course, to deindustrialize Africa and make it look like it is a garden, like what they said is a farm, to make it look like it is a farm. It is an underdeveloped place. So they didn't want Africa to have industries. Hence, they said, remove or sell all the industries, privatize everything. And the majority of the industries which were privatized, actually, they never worked again. If you read a book which was written about the richest black man in the world, it was written by one Nigerian man who was married to an African-American woman in the United States, and they were writing about Dangote. There is a process of privatization, or the so-called liberalization, which happened in Nigeria in that book, that even some industries, when they told them to sell them, like for Nigeria's cement factories, all these which were owned by the state, they were never interested in running these like as private entities. They just wanted them collapsed. That's what the white man wanted these things to do. He wanted the things collapsed so that you are not manufacturing, and he would come and take control of the importing and continue to benefit and enrich himself. So this is what happened. Now, during that same period, between 1961, because the government had taken full stake, of course, there was a level of incompetence, as they say. That was the excuse of selling this airline, and so the IMF and World Bank, of course, encouraged them to sell it off. And in 2003, the last plane, that is when the government sold everything. Now we have 2018, that is when the Nigerian government now comes back to say they want to put back the flagship. And this trend, we have seen it actually not only in Nigeria, we have seen it in majority of the African countries. When you look at countries like Uganda, Uganda has put back the Uganda Airways. with the 2 planes. Some of them have 2 planes, some of them have 3 planes. They say they are putting up the country's flagship airline, and so it will be profitable, even though they don't have enough experience, in these, enterprises, and they have operated them before and they failed. You can see in countries like Ghana right now, also they are talking about putting back the Ghana Airways, which was left by Nkrumah, and then it was destroyed, of course, and the airplanes were sold off. So they are talking about putting them back. So what you see is that when our leaders are making very bad decisions, as long as those decisions, they benefit the West, because remember now, when you are talking about buying planes, you are going to buy from Boeing and Airbus of France and Europe. You're going to buy from Boeing of the United States. They will not tell you anything. They will not say that what you are going to engage in is unprofitable. The IMF will not come in. The World Bank will not come in to tell you that what you are engaging in is foolish. It's not going to be profitable. And so that is the trend now which we are seeing. That is the trend we are seeing across the continent. Ghana is talking about Ghana Airways. Uganda has already put back, Uganda Airways. So they have these airways, and it has never been profitable ever since it was launched, about 2-3 years ago. It has never been profitable up to today. It has been making losses and losses and losses. So they will not tell you that. Why? Because countries like Uganda, they bought the aircraft from Airbus. They bought some of it is from Bombardier, a Canadian company, I think, which has been bought by the Japanese. So this is what is going on. So Nigeria is within that trend. But what I want to applaud Nigeria in this case is that Nigeria wanted to partner with the private sector in this situation to put back the airlines. And so it advertised. And when it advertised, and of course, Ethiopian Airlines came up and took and bid and put it bid inside, and it was able to win the bid, and it was picked as the operator, the preferred operator, with 49% of stake, but 49% stake in Nigeria Air, Nigeria Air.
Thank you very much for that clarification, Kwame, because most of the people, they think, it's perceived as Nigerian Air was there. Nobody knew that it was just a launched one, or nobody knew either that it's, ups and downs, that what it had for the past decades. Now, my question is coming to the core of the topic. Now, the Ethiopian Airline coming and buying this stake, we have seen and read that the Nigerian Air, or the government, has put an advertisement, and as you just briefly mentioned, on a magazine for the Western countries didn't react, didn't come and buy it, but it was only the Ethiopian Airlines who showed interest and now came and bought 49% of it. Then what is the problem? Given all its successful stories and being a Pan-African line, I'm an airline, I'm an Ethiopian. People might say I am biased, but it's all there, the history of the Ethiopian Airlines. So what is the problem? Did they want to be bought by the Western countries, by the Western airlines? What is it?
Yeah, of course, there is some controversy right now which is surrounding the idea that Ethiopian Airlines is taking a 49% stake in the airlines. But also, what they're not telling you is that we advertise, even though some media outlets have spoken about the advertising of of Nigeria Air across the world in the magazine, in a popular magazine called The Economist. I think that magazine is from the United States. Of course, it's a capitalist magazine. And the purpose was for them to attract investors into this airline outside the globe. Outside of Nigeria, or even outside of Africa.
Africa, yeah.
So when they advertised, they expected big airlines like Delta, OKLM, you see, or Air France, or British Airways, Virgin Airways to come in and take a stake in Nigeria, in Nigeria Air. Unfortunately, these airlines did not turn up. They did not see any opportunity for them to make profit with Nigeria Air, even though, of course, we know that Nigeria has the biggest, has the biggest population. It's the most populous, country on the African continent with the biggest GDP. And Nigerians, with that, you can believe that they travel a lot.
Yeah.
Right now, the biggest airline in Nigeria, which is owned by Nigerians, is Air Peace, which is owned by a Nigerian rich man. So they wanted a white man to own the stake, but they were not able to get the white man. And then Ethiopian Airlines came in and it won the bid. It took this stake. Okay, it took this stake. The white man did not see the opportunity of making profit. He did not see that this will be profitable for him. And also, the white man doesn't understand the market. He doesn't understand the African market, the African aviation market. We have already said that Ethiopia is the aviation capital of the African continent. So these people, whether you're talking about British Airways, Delta, these people are just dropping in various airports and picking up people and taking them to Europe and taking them to the United States. They are not serving the African market. Ethiopian Airlines has been in this market. If anything, I think that the Nigerian legislators, also called MPs, all those ones who are worrying, if anything, they should be proud. They should be jumping up and say, yes, this thing is going to be more profitable. It is going to be more profitable and it is going to benefit us. And maybe the government should be thinking of taking more stake when it starts operating. We should let our people be trained by Ethiopian Airlines, which understands the African market, because Ethiopian Airlines understands the African market. You want Delta to take the stake, or you want KLM from France to take the stake. It doesn't understand the African market. So, I mean, the people who are arguing or who are causing controversy about how, Ethiopian Airlines is investing into Nigeria Air, I think they are misplaced. Those people, some of them, they have self-hate. I will say that that behavior is similar to the behavior that is happening in South Africa. It has been happening in South Africa some period ago, that you have Africans who are putting up small businesses. They came with their own capital. And now the Africans, the black South Africans, they come and kill their fellow Africans. This is self-hate. This is what we call self-hate, that the black man, to a certain extent, has been miseducated, that he doesn't think that his fellow black man can do the thing better than the white man. So this is the problem which we are facing here when it comes to this issue of Ethiopian Airlines taking 49% stake in Nigeria Air. Number two, also what we are seeing is that the Nigerian middle class, or the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, they despise the fellow Africans. So they think that if any wealth is supposed to go out of the country, it should be taken by the white man. So the same thing which I said, the behavior is the same thing that is being behavior which is being exhibited in South Africa by the Africans, by the black South Africans. It's the same behavior. They don't believe that the black man should come and share in the wealth. But the white man is not being touched. He's the one who is controlling the land, is controlling the mines. They're not touching the white man. Oh, the white man, we love the white man. You see? So this is the same behavior that you are seeing in Nigeria that is happening right now. That instead of celebrating Pan-Africanism, instead of celebrating the idea that now we are contributing, towards the air transport, the African single market, air transport system, which is a flagship program, the single African air transport market, which is a flagship program of the African Union. Instead of celebrating that we are contributing, we are making a significant contribution in that direction, the legislators, can you imagine, is the legislators in the Senate, Nigerians, members of parliament, they're the ones who are complaining. I mean, this becomes unfortunate. So imagine when it comes now to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, what these people are going to be doing. These are people who are going to be saying Nigeria should block off the borders because the goods from other countries are flowing in too much. So this is the problem. We have, I think, a problem there, which we have to address as Africans amongst ourselves. And to the Nigerian leaders and legislators, I would appeal that this is only natural. This is what we have been looking for. This is the Pan-Africanism we have been looking for. Instead of putting up resistance against it, they should instead support, because they are claiming that there is fraud around this enterprise, this investment. They said that the aircraft was brought from Ethiopia and it has gone back to Ethiopia. So how is this connected to the fact that Ethiopia has taken 49 stake in the airlines and is going to invest its own money? So did they want the aircraft to stay at the airport, at the Nandi Azikiwe airport, so that they can come and be looking at it and say, now we have Nigeria Air? I really don't understand what is the logic behind, because the aircraft belongs to Ethiopian Airlines. I mean, Ethiopian Airlines is the biggest investor in it. It has branded the aircraft Nigeria Air, and the aircraft will come back, but Ethiopia Air is the one who's going to operate the aircraft. So what is the problem that the aircraft goes back? Because the Nigerian government has not yet put up money to buy the aircraft. It has not been bought by the Nigerian government. This aircraft doesn't belong to the Nigerian government, and they are not the operator. So I really don't understand from my
Who
point of
owns
view.
the 51%?
So the 51% is owned by a consortium of Nigerian investors. Okay, there's a group of Nigerian investors, including the Nigerian Sovereign Fund, Sovereign Fund. So it's a group of investors from Nigeria within the country itself. Of course, there will be private investors, there will be banks, there will be other investors, but it also includes the Nigerian Sovereign Fund, and the Nigerian Sovereign Fund has about 46%. The Nigerian government will have about 46%, which is the Nigerian Sovereign Fund. So instead of taking time, like they have mentioned that Ethiopian Airlines has more than 70 years of experience in the aviation industry in Africa, not just in Europe or around the globe, but it has strong experience in Africa. And no one else has been profitable. We have seen South African Airways, making losses. We have seen Kenya Airways making huge losses. South African Airways has been on state, support. Kenya Airways also is on state support, making huge losses. No other airlines on the African continent is making as much profit as Ethiopia Airlines. So if anything, I think that the Nigerian legislators, they should be proud that Ethiopian Airlines has taken the stake so that they can learn how to operate an airlines. So with that, I think that is what I would say about that.
No, thank you, Kwame. And I was also listening just to reflect on this. On one, I think the same Arise News, they have been interviewing one of the authorities, and he's expressing his determination, and he was mostly talking about mainly about pride. This is like selling sovereignty, and then on the other hand, he's talking about the expectation, just like you said, for the Virgin Island, or what was it, and then the KLM and others to come.
You are talking about pride. I don't know which pride they're talking about. Would you prefer that a white man owned it? If you're talking about pride, would you prefer that the Americans came and owned the Nigerian Africa? Or would you prefer the Africans owned the assets in Africa? I mean, this is just common sense.
It's
I
even
would prefer.
beyond that. Is it pride or merit? Because the airlines have more than 77 years or close to 80 years experience. And that's what it brings to the market or to this Nigerian
Which
Airways.
Virgin Airlines doesn't have actually.
Exactly. And this
Which
is
KLM doesn't have. Which Delta Air, which they wanted, doesn't have. Which British Airways doesn't have. All these, they don't have this experience.
it's a competitor by all means.
So you see, there's a problem here also. There's a problem of greed that this middle class in Nigeria, this group of people who have impoverished in Nigeria, who have mismanaged Nigeria's resources, they think that everything belongs to them. They have mismanaged the resources, the African people's resources in Nigeria, that they have impoverished everyone in the country, and they have grown fat. They drive very big cars. They have big houses. They think everything now belongs to them. Everything should belong to them. So if it is the airline, they should belong. It should belong to. They should get a place. They should get a space. So what they are looking for, actually, even though the Nigerian Wealthy Fund, the Nigerian Sovereign Fund, owns 46% of this airline, they want to find a place. The problem which they have is that they were told that they will not operate it. They are the ones in government. They are told that they will not operate it. Ethiopian Airlines is the one who's going to operate it. So they want to have a share. They want to find a way of eating the money. They consume the money, dictate. These people in government, you know them, how they behave. And in majority of the African governments, that they interfere in majority of the things and they make them dysfunction. And then they give excuses that the state cannot operate things. But it's just individuals within there who are sabotaging the interest of the majority of the whole nation. And they are claiming the state cannot operate it. Let us privatize it. So what they were looking for is to control, to dictate to Ethiopian Airlines. That's what they are looking for even right now. They are looking to dictate to Ethiopian Airlines how to hire, how, who to put where, who to be the manager of the airlines. You see, this is what they are looking for. To take bribes and stuff like that. This is what they are looking for. So nothing else these people are looking for. That is what the political and middle class, which you are seeing, that they are putting up a fight in Nigeria. That is what they are doing. And so they raise these false alarms and these false allegations of fraud and what, that the launch of the airlines was a fraud. How was it a fraud when the investor is there? The investor has not said that I've gone away. You see? Ethiopian Airlines is there. I said, we are here. And we even brought the aircraft to show you that we are serious. And you are saying that it is a fraud. How is it a fraud when they have shown you that we are here? We are going to invest the money. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense with what those people are up to. So it's just corruption.
This is what the man said. The lady, the presenter, asked him, then if we say that we have the skilled manpower, the pilots and everything, then what is the problem? What is the issue that to do what Ethiopian Airlines is doing? Then he starts like this, the problem is, Nigerian Air, it's labeled as corrupted. He says it. But this Ethiopian Airlines it's more than Ethiopian. The name might be Ethiopian Airlines, but it's more than Ethiopian. It flies that African pride high, or that African spirit high in the sky. When it gets a reward on the global stage, it's not
so actually what a lot of our people, what they don't understand is that all of us cannot do aviation. You can't have 55 aviation companies across the African continent. If we are talking about unifying Africa, all of us cannot do aviation. All of us cannot do cocoa growing. All of us cannot do cocoa production. All of us cannot do gold production.
Yeah.
All of us cannot do oil production, even though we may have it. So we have this huge pool of resources, but we have to specialize. Our regions have to specialize. So if you have an expert in aviation on the continent, there's no reason why you should set up another 55 aircraft companies, airline companies on the African continent. I mean, this is what they are not understanding, I think. And some of these people, I really doubt whether they are even very well informed about aviation. Some of them are just talking. They are not well informed about aviation itself.
Yeah, let's move forward and let me ask this. When we look at the aircraft manufacturing, of course, Ethiopia's largest fleet is from Boeing, of the American, Airbus, of the France. And is there another way you think Ethiopian Airlines can diversify its opportunities in this area, and of course, to be more profitable and de-risk, as just President Biden said recently at the G7 summit, that it is dangerous to depend on one supplier. So is there any way that it will diversify? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the MD or the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines must have watched, a few days ago what happened, where we had China launching. I think it was on Monday. We had China launching its maiden. It was last week, probably last week. We had China launching its manufactured aircraft, which the aircraft which was manufactured in China, which is called the C919, the Comac C919. Ethiopia Airlines, I think majority of its aircraft is Boeing, is operating majority of its aircraft are from Boeing, which is a United States company. So I think that Ethiopia Airlines, for this case, looking at even the geopolitical changes, the changes that are going on across the world, the geopolitical changes we are experiencing, I think that Ethiopia Airlines is important that starts, looking into these options. And I know that the CEO, the managing director of Ethiopia Airlines, must have been watching this closely. China launched its maiden flight, which had passengers, more than 130 passengers, on its domestically manufactured aircraft, the C919. It was flying from I think from Shanghai to Beijing, and it had around 130 passengers. So it is this aircraft is around 60% manufactured with Chinese components. So you can conclude that it is a purely it is a Chinese manufactured aircraft. That is the conclusion which you can make. And it is looked at as cheaper. It is a cheaper aircraft, and it is a regional aircraft, which is more than 100, I think 190, more than 190 passengers, up to 200, depending on the configuration. And we have also Sukhoi Superjets, Superjets also, which is from Russia. These are also manufacturing aircraft. So when you are talking about de-risking, I think that in the long term, the African aviation industry and of course Ethiopia Airlines, which are majorly controlling this industry on the African continent, may want to look in that direction, because you see that during the Tigray, interruption, the rebels, the TPLF rebels in the northern part of the country, you see these Americans, they can decide to interrupt, the service of the airlines, of Ethiopia Airlines, by saying they will not give you spare parts. You can see what happened to Russia, that they put sanctions on it, and such Russia could not actually get spare parts for its Boeing aircraft, because Russia right now is operating also a lot of Boeing aircraft, and it is speeding up the process of manufacturing its own aircraft, which is the so-called Superjet. So I think it is important that our airlines industry, our aviation industry, and especially Ethiopia Air and all the others on the African continent, start looking at these Chinese manufactured aircraft like the C919, the ARJ 21, which is a regional jet which can carry up to 80 people, 70 to 80 people. These jets can be used across the region, going from Ethiopia to South Africa, going from Ethiopia to Kenya, going from Ethiopia to Egypt, and all these, they can be used in such a manner. They can be regional jets, ARJ 21. So I think that is important that our people start diversifying. We have to diversify for the interest, as you said, of de-risking, from sanctions, which have been mentioned, on numerous times, even by Madame Nale Dipando, or the Minister of Foreign Relations of South Africa, that we need to be careful so that we are not trapped in these unjustified sanctions, because I believe that Ethiopian Airlines is a major source of income for the country, for Ethiopia itself, and is a source of pride, of course, as you have mentioned before, not only Ethiopia but all the African, continent, and the African people. There's, is one of the most profitable aircraft, I mean, airlines on across the world, not only in the African continent, but across the world. Like we mentioned, Ethiopia, Ethiopia is doing well in different areas, to the extent that it has decided to take on the Nigerian Air situation. But we see South Africa is having problems. South Africa Airways is been making losses. Kenya Airways also, which is another big airlines on the continent, is also been making a lot of losses. We don't know. I'm not very sure about Rwanda Air. I don't know about Egypt Air and Morocco, those ones. But we are really proud of Ethiopia Airways, and I think it needs to start looking into that direction.
Yeah. There are a lot of facts about the airline, Ethiopian Airlines, that makes it really the right. It's not actually, this is the fifth one, if I'm not mistaken, that the airline is owning a share. It has 40% of ASCII Airline, 49% of the Guinea Airways, another 49% of the Malawi Airways, 45% of Zambia Airways, and now this is the fifth one, 49% of Nigerian Air. And in all those that it has both the share and running are going good, and we haven't seen any retreat or collapse or anything. So it's all going good. And also, it's not only making profit by getting money from the passengers and everything. It's also it's a big aviation academy that it has, producing a number of pilots, not only Ethiopians. Most African countries, they come and they learn there to be pilot or flight attendant. It's also a big aviation academy of producing engineers for aviation. I mean, you go. I mean, it's one of the, actually now it has become. It's called a state of art, if I'm not mistaken. The name. It has become one of the touristic centers in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. When people are there, they go, they visit inside the Boeing, and then the academy. It's really from all parts of Africa, and even outside of Africa, they come, and it's how do you say, knowledgeable lecturers in all aviation profession. So it's really that airline that is it's a pride of Africa. And I know I'm an Ethiopian, but I would say this really. I am very sure of what I say. It's not biased. It's the airline that actually brought, when the world, all airlines collapsed during the pandemic, COVID-19, that brought the gloves, all the necessary materials by risking their lives from China. Everybody has stopped. Every airline has stopped to go to China. It was the only airline that go and brought materials, gloves, and everything needed for the pandemic. And then when the vaccination was ready, not only in Africa, but all over the world, up to Latin America, even the Americans themselves were renting the cargo of Ethiopian Airlines, and they were risking their life to go. Most of the things were coming from China or anywhere. So it is that Pan-African Airlines, and when the airways are about to collapse, it go and buy share and it's for me, it's more of saving. It's not even about making profits. They have their profits, they have their hubs in different cities in Africa, they can make money. So it's also caring and, you know, bringing, putting up, how to say, lifting those African airlines. So yeah, I think we should be able to look at it beyond that it is Ethiopian. We have to look at the history of the Ethiopian Airlines itself, and, you know, then talk about pride.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think what we have.
Pride.
Yeah, I think what we have, the people we have, they're just looking at it narrowly. You know, they are narrow people, people with you know, is people with a lot of let me say limited understanding of the aviation industry, and then also they don't have the history. They don't have the history of aviation across the African continent, and probably even in Nigeria itself, and so they don't know about Ethiopia Airlines, a lot of them, and so they think that it is just, you know, it's just another African country which doesn't have an airline. So majority of them actually have never gone. Some of them have never gone outside Nigeria, apart from going to Europe. They have majority of them have never flown out of Nigeria to go to other African countries to visit, apart from going to Europe and going to the United States and coming back. So they think that everything should be run by the white man. If the black man comes, so and the other thing is that they see their incompetence. They think that, oh, every black man is incompetent out there. So this is the self-hate which we were talking about.
Yeah, we call what is a spade is a spade. And let me just say that it's a world, not only in Africa. In Africa, it's always the best airlines. It gets that reward line year after year. And also it is the world's fourth largest airline by its number of countries served. It flies to 38 African countries, but in terms of cities, 63 African cities. So in terms of connecting, it's one of maybe the only airline in terms of connecting Africa to the outer world. So yeah, as Kwame, you said, not everyone, I mean, it's the aviation capital, or it's the aviation of Africa. So let's just, I mean, some other cities are, you know, better in technology. We have seen actually Egypt Air doing the same, running or buying a stake of Ghana Air, which also Ethiopian Airlines was a competitor that I remember, but it was given to Egypt Air. The whereabouts of Ghana Air, I mean, you should tell us. But yeah, let's leave it that as it is. And now that we have seen that Ethiopian Airlines coming and buying and then going to run the Nigerian Air. So what are, in general, the future prospects for African aviation? What do you say?
I think this one I'll be short on it, but I think that Africa has to look at what the African Union put up and take it very seriously. And I'm talking about the single African air transport market, which is an initiative of course, the Africa agenda, the African Union Agenda 2063. And we have to take this, I think, seriously. And we have to integrate. As Africans. Our air systems have to be integrated. And if it needs people to start up other regional airlines, but we have pioneers on the continent already. Even with those regional airlines, you have, airlines which serve, like, for example, only South Africa, South African region, or you have airlines which serve only the East African region, or those ones which serve only the West African region. And you have just a small aircraft of maybe around 30 people, 90 people or 70 people. Even with those, the regional aircraft companies, if you want to set them up, you have Ethiopian Airlines here, which has been in the business for a very long time. You have Kenya Airways also, which has been in the business for a very long time. And it is very good, actually, that Kenya Airways and South Africa Airways have decided to talk and find a way how they can integrate, their routes and how they can cooperate together, looking at how they have been making losses. And so these efforts really need to be sped up. They need to speed up these processes so that the African people can be served very, very well. But I think that we have whatever we need when we say we are Africans and we are capable, like how the rest of the world is capable. We have whatever we need. We have the expertise. Ethiopian Airlines, Ethiopians have built up that expertise in aviation. We should be discussing and talking about things like establish now, how can we talk to the Chinese or the Russians so that we can start manufacturing our own aircraft instead of focusing on petty things that, like what is happening with the Nigerian legislators. This is a petty thing which is already done deal. We should be discussing how can we have Ethiopian Airlines set up a training school in Nigeria for the West African region. This is what we should be discussing. But it is unfortunate that some of our people are so narrow-minded. That one, you excuse me to say, it's unfortunate that some of the people are just narrow-minded. They cannot think far beyond the narrow, and the petty, empty, nationalistic, mindset. So that becomes very, very unfortunate. But I think that as Africans, we have whatever it takes. We have all the resources that we need. We don't need the white man to win. We don't need the white man to come from wherever to come here and train us about aircraft and train us about how to do, airlines, how to run airlines, when we already have people who have the knowledge across the continent. And it's unfortunate that things like World Bank have already been coming here, IMF, to advise on knowledge which we already have. We have people who have that knowledge here, that they can advise on how to run the economy. So I think we need to trust ourselves more as Africans and believe in ourselves more as Africans.
Yeah, thank you. Well said. Thank you very much, Kwame. So I think that's it for us. Did we lose Kwame or no? It's just a video. Maybe. For those of you who want, to support our channel, please, you can, I just posted it on the chat section. You may support us through our PayPal account so that we can be here at most of the week because there's a lot going on in the continent and globally that affects or that impacts Africa positively or negatively. We want to give it that Pan-African perspective to what's happening. So please support. It can be in terms of money, but also you can share our video to your network, to your family, whoever will be interested, because this is knowledge that you wouldn't get on any other platform. Even our national, the African national broadcasts do not look at. We don't have that Pan-African platform, which is a research-based also. So it's really different. So you can tell for yourself. That's it for us. We will see you, myself and Kwame will see you again on Tuesday. So thank you very much for being here. Kwame, if there's anything,
thank you for everyone who has been watching us until this time. Like Mahlet said, try and support the channel. Let us work together. Join us in working together for the good of Africa. We are the people who are going to change Africa, and we have to make that contribution ourselves as Africans without the help of the white man, without the help of the Chinese. We have to put in the work, and that work starts now. So come out and support us, support the channel, support us in any other way which you can. We told you that we are working with all the other organizations, the PLO Rumba Foundation, the Africa Continental Unity Party, the Economic Fighters League in Ghana, and numerous other organizations. We are working together to see that we push forward the African agenda. So come out and support us in any way which you can on this channel, so that you can make a contribution and we can all make a contribution, and we can put forward and push for total African freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have put a couple of websites there, africainterest.org. Please go and check out. It's our brother Lambert, who is doing an amazing job and giving analysis on different issues in the continent. Also, there is a website that we are working on, Connect to Africa. Just stay tuned. It will come. Yeah, so have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Until Tuesday, it's bye-bye from us. Ciao, Kwame. Bye. Thank you.